care who they put in there at tackle. Woo! They got to deal with it. There we go. Welcome to the big league. Welcome to the big league.
What's going on, sports fans? It's Josh Williams back again with another episode of the American Fan 365 podcast. Welcome to our friends live on Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube on the repeat, we thank you. If you're watching on Zeal Radio, we thank you. Keep tuning in. Keep following all the pages. We're going to have a mostly NBA-centered show today. Of course, we're going to get around the world in sports. But without further ado, I have to introduce the big man to the right. How you doing today, Death Star?
I am tired from this weekend. Kendrick and Drake kept dropping diss after diss. It was a lot to study. Kendrick gave us a lot of notes. We had to do some investigating.
There was a lot of
to really get deep in there.
Journalism in there.
Yeah, man. Good Lord. Feel sorry for you, Aubrey.
So you know, I know we usually don't go too much pop culture on here, but what I guess would be your favorite moment of all of it?
Ooh, wow. That is a very difficult question. I will say two parts. One, the fact that Drake actually dropped something top notch and then immediately got overshadowed because Kendrick dropped within 20 minutes.
Now,
then the entirety of Meet the Grams, where he spoke to every member of that man's family about how terrible of a person he is.
I'll say this. So my only thing on it was the way that everyone randomly took shots at Drake. It was like, is this orchestrated?
Well, I don't think is it orchestrated. Is it random? I think a lot of people don't like that man.
Now that kind of that's come off a lot over the last month. But Rick Ross has made millions of dollars with Drake.
He very much
millions. Future has made millions of dollars with Drake.
Yep.
There were a lot of people that were surprising. It wasn't it was a lot of Biggie Tupac stuff, where it was we were boys and then we weren't boys. You know what I mean? So that was the more because it all happened at once. So it was this felt a little contrived to me.
See, I don't know if that's true because I don't know that Kendrick would go that route. Why would he care? That's not his type of mode.
His didn't seem like his seemed real from the beginning.
Drake is always contrived, but Kendrick, I think his starts from, and what I got told by somebody who usually is smart about all these things, was that all started with first person shooter. He was supposed to be on it.
Oh,
and he put in his verse, and his verse had some things that a certain Canadian didn't really care for.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it was just the two of them.
Oh, okay.
And so his feelings about the man started really kicking in there. Because I don't think that man cares. I don't think Kendrick is. I think he's busy out there talking about chakras and,
raising his son,
raising children, and just being out of the limelight, doing videos of himself doing push-ups in the park, and just living a simple life.
Look, he never meant to go mainstream. The fact that he did and has made money in it, he's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I just can't believe I ever ended up in the situation where, Jermaine Cole, I apologize for running you down, for getting yourself out of this. You're a smart man. He wanted fun and games. He wanted just a good-natured battle. And then people's whole family names started coming in there, and he wasn't interested in that.
He got out of there. I saw something on Twitter. It was like, does J. Cole feel like the survivors of 9/11 that didn't get on the plane? That was dark, but I was like, oh wow, that's quite profound.
Dark, but not necessarily wrong.
Survivor's guilt. Let's go ahead and take it around the world in sports. Man, it was a crazy sports weekend this weekend. Both the NHL and the NBA have all moved into the second round now, so we'll get into a little bit of both. Obviously, more NBA because all of you care more about the NBA than anything else.
Well, especially out here now because the bandwagon is stopped for the year.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But up first, Patrick Beverley disrespects a female journalist. And on this one, Chase, you can actually let the sound play because we're gonna let this one actually because the sound is the saddest part. So go ahead and roll that clip.
Sorry, before I finish. You subscribe to my pod?
Do I subscribe to you? I do not subscribe.
So you can't interview me then. No
Okay,
disrespect.
well, Jamal is here. so-
You subscribe? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Again, there were a couple times within a bucket or two. In previous games, y'all have been able to kind of get over that hump, or
I
maybe
got my face, please? Yeah, thanks.
was it anything they did in particular, or was it just one of those where the bucket didn't go down, there wasn't the stop, they made one? What kind of prevented that you all from being able to get over, kind of like you have in the past?
You'll move that mic, please, or just get out the circle, please, for me, please, ma'am. If you're not subscribed to my pod, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That'll do. That'll do.
Before I finish.
So,
It's
I mean,
trash.
listen, that is so beyond. First off, I always forget her name, but this is Malika Andrews' sister. Believe it or
Kendra.
not. Is that her name, Kendra?
Pretty sure.
Okay. Well, this is she's a respected journalist, and then also too, women journalists, female journalists always get a bad rap just because of what they have to already go through in the locker rooms, getting into locker rooms, being respected, and to disrespect her in that way. It came out that Patrick had been basically not allowed back at ESPN after doing this because she is an ESPN journalist.
Yeah, and then they quickly
And then
ran that back.
Yeah, they ran
Weak.
that back, which
Weak.
actually I was good for you, ESPN, for saying he's not
how they
coming
should've been.
back on air. And then it was like, oh yeah, no, that was a mistake. Really, really bad moment. And then all this happened at the heels of losing their series, and also after Patrick Beverley goes irate and throws a ball at a fan.
Yeah, well, the ball at the fan thing, I don't know. I'm not sure why he gets such passes. He's a dirty player. You know my thoughts on him. I hate this man. I feel
have.
like he cost my favorite team a title. I will never be talked off of that. When he ran into Russ's knee, I think they're winning a title that year. I will have a hard time ever being talked off that one.
You'll die on that hill.
I will die on that hill. But I mean, he is the professional equivalent of the guy that shows up in the Black Air Forces to play. That's it. I mean, he's a good hustle player, good on anybody that makes the league. And I know in high school he was like the man.
Yes.
But the fact that we give him so much attention, like people like him and Kendrick Perkins who just say things like out in public spaces, like they're not bringing anything to the game. I'm not saying everything has to be like the LeBron and JJ podcast where they go deep into the game and it really turns off most people. And you could still be entertaining, but like you're just saying stuff to get people to like, oh, well, he's crazy. Can you believe what he said? It's like, yeah, I can believe what he said. He's going to say dumb stuff.
Yeah.
He's going to do something that gets engaged. That was unbelievably rude and uncalled for, and he should have gotten some discipline for that. But whatever. He won't.
Yeah.
People love him for reasons I'll never understand.
It was a bad. I've really like when this happened. When I saw this, it was so disappointing.
And why would you listen to the Patrick Beverley podcast?
Well,
How is that? What is that going to bring to your life?
I mean, look, listen. I don't know outside of maybe angry rants, but for him to, like you said, he was a great high school player. One of the best high school players come out of Chicago, actually. But has created an NBA career for himself. Look, I want subscribers, but I mean, look, listen, that is the most disrespectful way to do it. I'm not going to be out here trolling people to get subs. I'll tell you that.
That tells you that man is clearly not getting the number of subs he thinks that he would be getting by having a public venture. Because why in the world were you asking a reporter? He should have had to ask every one of those reporters. I feel like he felt like he could big time it because it was a woman.
Yes, and I feel like half the people in that circle did not sub to his podcast. So it's like, why would you single her out?
I would like to know who that reporter was that said they did, so I make sure I never listen to anything that they ever say ever again.
1,000%. Moving on. So I haven't watched this yet. I actually watched the Cat Williams stand up last night, which was kind of mid. Most of his stuff.
I heard it was rough.
Yeah, no, it was good, but it just wasn't really heavy on jokes. It was just a lot of like ramblings a lot of times. It wasn't.
It's a lot of Cat in most recent years, though.
Yeah, it was. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know that was the man to test out that, hey, we're going to do a live special.
No. Remember Chris Rock?
Chris Rock did it too.
Yeah, Chris Rock.
But
had
Chris
his.
Rock, that's more tried and true. That man has worked out that special enough times by the time he does it that it's set.
Yeah.
Do you think Cat's out there doing that?
Yeah, not to
Cat's
Chris
out there
Rock's level.
running 30-yard 40s. He's not prepared the same way.
The way that I hate you. That's pretty good. But we did have the Tom Brady roast last night, so I'll let Chase run that clip.
People have said that Tom and I butted heads a lot, and in a way that was true, but not really. It was hard to butt heads with Tom because he was so far up Alex Guerrero's ass.
Okay, so that, like, why can't Bill Belichick be like this all the time?
It was calculated. He's a smart guy. He didn't want anybody to know anything about him. He was pretty funny. Actually, almost everybody, athletes included, were pretty funny. Gronk was, to me, very hard to watch.
Okay,
but he was Gronk, so people who like the Gronk thing, they'll like it. Randy Moss had a tough time, but that's just not Randy's thing.
Yeah.
Like Randy was mad about not getting a ring. That was about the only.
Yeah, I'm the only
that he
person
said.
up here that doesn't have one.
I mean, Julian Edelman fed into all the things we all have said about Julian Edelman over the years.
Okay,
basically
all right.
as being Brady's fanny pack.
Okay,
and a lot worse things that were said. The only thing that Brady seemed to act, I mean, clearly he didn't like the Giselle Jiu-Jitsu coach jokes. Those ones hit him pretty hard.
Okay. See, I have to watch it.
He only shut down
moments.
one line. It only got said once, just Bob Kraft massages. Jeff Ross said that. Tom Brady got up and said, don't say that again.
Oh, no. Oh, okay.
And
all right.
not one of those jokes was made the rest of, and we had every sort of marriage joke.
Yeah.
Aaron Hernandez jokes.
Yeah,
Drew
yeah,
Bledsoe was up giving and taking shots.
Give me the Drew Bledsoe was there.
Drew Bledsoe was there.
Oh, I gotta watch this.
He did
roast.
pretty well. He definitely had some of his own wine to get him loosened up. But I thought Drew delivered some good ones.
That's good. All right, but you got to give me the Aaron Hernandez joke that you told before we got on air.
One of the many was that one of the comedians said that since Kevin Hart was so short, he was standing the whole night on the stool that Aaron Hernandez kicked out from under himself.
That's dark, fans. That's not good stuff. That's pretty bad.
Even Tom Brady made an Aaron Hernandez joke.
Oh, wow.
Aaron Hernandez was clearly fair game.
Oh, that's
just not Bob Kraft massages.
See, and that's not right. That's not right. You can't talk about a man that's not here anymore. And then the man is sitting right here.
I disagree. I feel like that man you can.
Well, I mean, obviously he did some deplorable things, but I mean, but this guy is also still here. I mean, for a few more years or months possibly. But
his funeral came up too.
Okay, all right. So they did give him a few.
Oh yeah, they gave him a few, but they were pretty touchy about it. It was very clear that him and Bill Belichick deeply hate each other.
That's crazy. Yeah, I gotta watch it. So I do apologize.
Surprisingly good, as usual with roast, way too long.
Okay.
Athletes, most of them did as best as they could have done. There were some surprise people too, so it was
okay.
Overall, it was very good though. Man, the comedians were not. Oh, they were not messing around.
That's good. And anything with the king of roast, Mr. Ross, that always.
I thought they were. My last thing I'll say that I thought they were crazy because they had Jeff Ross go first.
Oh wow!
I thought, wow, this is going to be tough for everybody else.
Yeah.
No, everybody did just fine.
Okay,
there was plenty of material out there still.
Okay, all right, that's good. Switching gears. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit of baseball, and Chase, you can run this one as we go. This is I just have to say this as a Cubs fan, and this is one of the reasons why I wore my Cubs jersey from 2016 championship. Yeah, you see the gold, and then I got my gold J's on. Like, yeah, we're rocking the championship Cubs jersey. One of my biggest issues with today's baseball, and then also with sports in a lot of respects, is feel versus analytics. And in today's game, so this clip that we're running as we go, you can see in the top, my Cubs are up 5-0. 5-0. I'm blanking on the pitcher that had pitched 6 shutout innings. but he was at like 95 pitches. And so our bullpen, the Cubs bullpen, has been so deplorably bad over the course of this season so far, overall. And our new manager, Craig Counsell, just continually lets starters, have a great 5 innings, 1 run, no runs, and then rely on this trash bullpen. And we've lost games. We've got in a slugfest that we had no business being in. And I absolutely hate just that the analytics say, oh, well, he's, we got to save him for October. Nigga, we got to get to October.
Yeah, that's October is not. October is not promised.
It's not, and it's not guaranteed. So it's like, why do we keep? You know what I mean? Like that's just my. I hate that.
I feel like part of the reason one of the many things that is, I think, hurt pitchers overall is that they don't work enough.
Yes,
they haven't learned how to work through being tired, or maybe pitch a little differently. I don't know. When we grew up, pitchers pitched. I mean, complete games weren't crazy.
No.
Like what they call the Maddox now, where it's a complete game shutout. Like, it's an event when somebody does that.
Yeah.
But it's the era of specialists. I understand it. Now, baseball to me is the sport that translates the easiest for analytics, just because the numbers dominate the sport so much that it's hard to go against analytical data, because the data is so strong in that sport. Just the way that it works, it's different than everything else.
Yeah. I just feel like we've lost so much touch with feel. Like, I feel in this moment that your heart is in it differently than this next person.
Of course,
that might come in.
But at the same time, and he uses analytics too. Outside of, I will always love the great Bruce Bochy, who is the manager of the current world champions. Mm-hmm. Who is the manager that you trust now? Who is the field manager?
There's not many. There's not many left.
Dusty kept hanging out for years and years. Part of that was because he was able to get into analytics, but still talk with the players and have a feel for things. Mm-hmm. I think there's too many analytics. Analytics are so strong in the sport, I don't think you can just be a field guy anymore.
Yeah. Well, the Vegas Golden Knights season is over after a 2-1 defeat.
You don't have to sound that happy
to
about
the
it.
Dallas Stars. Yeah.
The Caps had been out for a whole week by that point.
That was a shot fired. That was a shot fired. That was, you know what I mean? But listen, look, my Caps, we have dug our bed of cap hell, and Nicholas Backstrom won't retire and relinquish his $9 million that's on the cap.
Why would listen?
And
they don't pay you that if you retire.
Listen, he can get a front office job. Like, we can get him off the books. Like, just get him off the books. Like, Nick, we'll get you this $9 million, dog. Don't worry about it. The money's coming. But man, I'll say this. So, and you know how I feel about Vegas Golden Knight fans. I will probably soften. I was thinking about this on the way in. I will probably soften on the Knights the second you guys actually have like a 5-year span of not looking good, and the fans actually either leave or stay.
Oh, this will sound terrible, but I'm very much with you on this. I will be happy when the Knights aren't a playoff. There's a stretch of a couple years when they're not a playoff team.
Like, not a good team.
Because then we'll see who are Knights fans.
Yeah.
I love hockey.
Yeah.
And I like watching hockey. Mm-hmm. But I don't like to go places and watch hockey too much. I'll go with a friend or something like that at a place that's a little more low key. I don't need to be at the who's winning the match type places. I don't need to pass the puck. I don't need to do any of these things.
Yeah.
It's good that people are so excited about it, but I wish that some people have learned. So you got to there's way more credit to be given than blame. But man, there's a lot of people out there that still don't understand the first thing about the game.
At all. And
saying that I'm an expert. I grew up in Las Vegas. I can't say I was out there skating on frozen ponds or anything like that. Yeah. But I at least have enough knowledge, and the big key is I want to see more fans who will watch another team's game, a team that the Knights are not involved in.
Yeah.
That's when you'll know that it's more of a fan base.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at this point, look, shoot, I've been a hockey fan really since like '92, since like Blades of Blades of Steel on NES. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was when I first was like, oh, we have a team. Oh, okay. And then when I sang the national anthem at a Caps game in 4th grade.
Whoa. This is new information.
No, you knew this.
I did not know this.
That was my first Caps game.
I promise I don't know this.
My first Caps game was at
Notice
the old,
my reaction. I clearly did not know this.
The old Capitol Center. My 4th grade.
Williams family. I will pay actual money for footage of this. That's not a joke.
Hey, you know what? Look, I think that footage has been burned. But it was
if
my
it hasn't, Williams family, I will pay money. I also can get my hands on good bottles of alcohol. So, whichever works better for you, holler at your boy.
I love it. But yeah, that was my first game. So that was when I actually I knew the players and I really started to pay attention. So that was like 94. So in terms of all the terminology and strategy and things like that, I might not know like everything, obviously, but like I at least got a GED in hockey at this point. I'm working on my associates. Like, a lot of people are still in 1st and 2nd grade and trying to tell you about hockey, and it's like, look, listen, I don't know.
The sad part is a lot of people, and it's a front runner city. It always has been. So it's helped that the Knights have been good the whole time so far. So it's easy to stay front running. But I feel like it's not even so much GED or below level. I feel like it's more like the person who wears the Harvard sweatshirt.
I hate you and didn't go to Harvard.
Never left the West Coast.
You're such a mess. All right, switching gears over to the NBA. And of course, our NBA segment today is brought to you by our friends at Coco Love, the beverage of choice of the American Fan 365. Head over to www.cocolovewater.com for your own case of coconut refreshment and use the code TAF365 for your discount on Hawaiian Beach vibes. Darvin Ham was fired after just 2 seasons in LA, a conference finals appearance, a NBA play-in championship. Oh, God, that just feels weird.
Day in season.
Yeah.
Which I liked, by the way.
Yeah, I keep saying play-in.
Except the way they ended.
Yeah.
The way it ended, I didn't like. But the tournament, I liked.
Yeah.
Some of those courts were a little rough.
I'll say in terms of I keep saying the play-in. In terms of the in-season tournament, they still have to do a better job of explaining everything to everyone. Because I feel like, there was like little things in terms of like, oh, well, since we already played the Pacers, does that mean that we have to play them again now? Like, are they taking one of those away games off the board? Like, there were like little things like in terms of.
But they worked it pretty well. I would have liked it if they would have stretched it out a little longer. But I also liked, even though a couple of the courts were hard to look at, I liked the special courts.
Yeah.
You automatically knew, hey, I'm watching an in-season tournament game.
Playing game.
There's a name for it now, and I forgot what it was. So somebody sponsored it, and it's escaping my mind.
Okay. But yeah, no, the court. Exactly. Once you knew that was what that court meant, you're like, oh, okay, tournament game, and I did like that. I love that it's in Vegas. I think maybe in the future, possibly you put it in Vegas at Allegiant. Maybe, never know.
Maybe
you never know. Like actually give it like
you really have to have the right teams lined up. Unfortunately, to put it at Allegiant, that would mean the Lakers would have to be in it every year.
Oh God, please, God in heaven.
Yeah, you tell me.
But you know what I mean. But like in terms of the Final Four and like actually giving those fan bases a kind of a March Madness feel. I think that if that's what they're going for is for the March Madness look and feel of it, I think putting it in that kind of a venue for that once a year type moment.
Well, it's European soccer. It's to have the other tournament to keep people in a stretch where people are only talking about football.
Mm-hmm.
We had NBA discussions.
Yeah. People
were watching NBA games. I saw people interested that aren't like me who watch NBA games all year long.
Yeah. But Darvin Ham, in-season tournament champion, loses in the first round. I called it in 5. They went out in 5 to the defending champions, the team that swept them last year in the conference title. How many times is LeBron going to get a coach fired or especially in a LeBron, contract year? Because it happens a lot in the contract years. Anytime he's up for a contract, it's like, the coach is basically the first one to go because it's like, well, we got to hire the new LeBron guy, and that's what ends up happening.
Well, the answer to that question is how many more years is he going to play? Because that'll tell you how many more coaches are going to go. It will never stop. We talked about this earlier, but he's had 8 coaches.
9.
Was it 9?
Yeah.
I thought he had 8.
Paul Silas.
Paul
RIP,
Silas.
Brendan Malone. Mike Brown.
Yep.
Mike Brown again. That's
right. He had Mike Brown twice.
Because remember, he got Mike Brown fired. Then he came back and they were like,
got him fired again.
Oh, Mike Brown. Yeah, sure. Again. 1 year, got him fired again.
So I didn't count Mike Brown twice.
Mike Brown twice. That's the only reason why.
So 7 coaching stints
yes.
Where coaches have been fired.
Yes.
The other 2 were Ty Lue, who got fired immediately after he left the Cavs.
Yep.
Who is now considered one of the best coaches in the league.
Yep.
We didn't know that at the time because you're not really allowed to coach LeBron, but I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
And the other one was the man who is widely considered the best coach in the league, Eric Spoelstra, who Pat Riley in his own book said LeBron wanted to have fired.
Yes.
So LeBron very well could have had every coach fired.
And the thing about Spo too, look, if he gets fired, we never know how great he becomes. The same thing with Ty Lue. Really, if he doesn't get that next chance, because remember, Ty Lue kind of was like in that, was he just good because he had LeBron?
Idea.
We
had no idea.
And then now he's looked like a very competent, very solid coach. Obviously, he's had some injuries and other diva situations with the Clippers now.
There's only so much you can do.
There's only so much. But has become a really good coach in his own right.
Yeah, no, he runs good stuff. I mean, they figured out a way to how he got that. Listen, how he even got that Clippers team to play together for that stretch of weeks they did was sheer miracle work because that team makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, Frank Vogel wins a title with the Lakers. Now, granted, it was a bubble title, still a title. He gets fired in 2 years.
Yeah, he got because somebody had to take the blame.
Yeah,
and we all know who's not.
Jesus, David Blatt gets fired from the Cavs after taking them to the finals.
He was the wrong hire when LeBron came back.
Yeah,
he was the right hire for the young team that he was going to put his system in.
Mm-hmm.
Every indication is we never got to see it in the NBA. Every indication is he's a fantastic visionary coach.
Yeah.
Once LeBron was coming back, all the indications from everything that's ever read or reported was, that motion offense, cool. We're not running any of that. I'm not doing one of these things.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, cool. He got hired to coach a different team than what he ended up with.
Yeah, Luke Walton.
That one I can't even blame LeBron.
But
Luke was a good assistant, though.
Yes, and remember too, Luke was also coming off that heater with the Warriors, where because he was the coach that coached most of the 73-9 year.
Yes,
because Steve Kerr had the spinal
basically.
tap situation with his back, right? And he coached at least half of that season, so he was the new hot shot coaching hire, and he was going to be coaching a young Lakers team. LeBron comes back,
correct,
and you got to go.
Yep, I like the crazier Laker fans will always give him the blame on that one. I don't sure that we have evidence that he's a bad coach.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because he was a lame duck coach in SAC.
Yeah, he
got to SAC. The team still was had a lot of babies and still was young. Don't really know, but now now not getting another shot. So he's still
assistant coach, and he's still, from every indication, a well-respected assistant.
Yeah,
who knows though.
Never know. So the final, I guess, Lakers moment is it smart then for the Lakers to draft young Bronny James? Bronny James, of course, had a non-draftable season, a very forgettable USC season. He's now in the transfer portal. I don't know if he declared where he's going. I don't remember seeing
he
that.
hasn't declared where he's going because he's not going to go anywhere because LeBron's going to force him into being a second-round pick.
Jesus Christ. So in relation to, because obviously the draft happens before free agency starts. So LeBron, I don't think, has to opt in until after the draft as well. So is it smart for the Lakers to draft Bronny James in the second round, a team that has many holes, to draft this player just to placate to LeBron, or not draft him and let him, continue to look average in college? Because I always said that the child wasn't it.
Well, I have a hard time talking about this one because it's not his fault that his father put all these expectations on him.
Fair.
This kid doesn't deserve this. From every indication, he's a great kid, a hard worker, everything else. He's 6'2",
Yes.
which is not the same size as his father.
Brycey is the one that I actually
that's the
think-
one to worry about.
That's the one that I'm like,
That's
he
the one
has
to
a
worry
good shot
about.
to make it into the league.
And the problem is he's going to get forced into the league, just like I'll save some of my commentary on LeBron for this, but he's going to get forced into the league he's not ready for. When I kept seeing things where ESPN had him as a top 10 pick
Yes.
before he went to college, I was like, it's interesting that you're a top 10 pick and you're a McDonald's All-American. You weren't on any of the all-city teams in Los Angeles. So you're not considered one of the 15 best players.
Uh-oh.
Death Star approaching.
All right,
Star
we can
approaching.
stretch out on this then. So the problem for this kid, which is a great thing too, because his father is clearly involved. And great for being involved father. I'm not going to knock him on that. But he's the one that then later complained that the kid, why all this attention? You made this happen.
Yes.
You forced it. You said he's better than players in the league. That was insane at the time. So Lakers fans, and I know here's the thing, like the new Kendrick track, Not Like Us, you don't like LeBron. Most of you do not. The LeBron fan and Laker fans, those are the worst fans in the world. You're all deplorable. You're all the worst trade machine, delusional goblins out there who sit there like, listen, this is how we're going to, I think we can get Ant Edwards on here. Look at how we work these numbers out. They don't understand that numbers and these things don't work together. But some of these things are fed by LeBron. Hey, remember the keep the same energy tweet about when Russ was there? I've kept the same energy the whole time. I love Russ. I knew that wasn't going to work. Everybody knew that wasn't going to work, except for LeBron, who seemed to think it was a good idea.
Thank you, Lakers, for taking that contract.
And also for being this basketball genius and all these great friendships you have. He shanked Dwayne Wade. He shanked Carmelo Anthony. He's done all of these things. He's a terrible GM. He's a coach killer. He is one of the best minds we've ever had in the game, but he's never the GOAT and never will be. How could anybody consider this man the greatest? I have one last thing to say to add to this. Why did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get past so quick? Especially, why did he get past so quick? It's all counting stats. All this man is Karl Malone with better speed, smarter, and no allegations, and you all know what the allegations are.
And that is a Death Star Dave moment. Dave, I appreciate you so much, man.
Sorry, I had to run a little over there because I definitely had to. Anytime I could take a shot at Karl Malone,
You take it.
it has to be taken because that man deserves it.
Oh,
That
my
man deserves it.
Now, so I had mentioned before when we were talking about the Cubs and talking about baseball and feel. One of the things today, especially, I know a lot of you guys know that I coach. And one of my biggest gripes with today's NBA is quality shots versus analytics. And you see it so much in the playoffs. And I'm going to start doing more breakdowns. We did this last year in the playoffs too. I'll start doing some clips and we can actually break down what I mean by this. But so many times people take, like I always say to people whenever I'm watching games, like, we can get that shot anytime we want it. That doesn't mean that it's a good shot.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just going to pull from, off one leg, falling out of bounds. Because I can hit it doesn't mean it's a good shot.
Right.
And it tears down your team. But the analytics say, oh, well, that's a good shot because it's from him and it was in this spot. He was off of 2 dribbles and all that stuff. And it's like, bro, like, and we'll talk about this when we kind of go through the matchups a little bit more as well. But I still am a believer of certain things in basketball and in sports for that matter. Just like you have to take care of what you can do when you have the ball.
But I think you could see that the best coaches are a mix of the analytic part of the game, the feel part of the game, and also being able to manage the players. Even when you're a gruffer coach, like Rick Carlisle is not exactly the most beloved coach by all of his players.
I love Rick Carlisle.
But Rick Carlisle is a fantastic coach. He's a fantastic X's and O's guy. He's incorporated enough in the analytics, and he knows enough to work with the personalities. He understands what it takes to get into the league and get it done in the league.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these guys, sometimes, Spo is clearly, of course, the exception, but in the superstar league, which the NBA always is and always will be, there has to be some sort of allowance to know how to deal with players.
Yeah.
You do have to pamper your stars to a certain level because there's no sport where the stars mean more.
Yes.
It's just when you have a generational guy. Listen, the Spurs aren't anywhere close to ready, but Wemby is special. So they have the pathway going forward to make a great team, or at least a team that becomes a contender just by him.
Yeah.
In no other sport can you do that. In football, you can have a great quarterback. He's got no line.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. And no line, no receivers.
No receiver, no running back.
Yeah,
or
you're
a
stuck.
bad defense.
Yeah.
Like Peyton Manning for years. Horrible defense.
Correct. Hockey, the greatest team of all time can run into a hot goalie, and there it goes.
Why? Why you have to take? Why? That's a veiled shot at my Caps.
That wasn't a veiled shot at your Caps.
Veiled. Oh,
that maybe your Caps many years ago. We're not talking about great Caps these times.
Oh, but I mean, so many titles taken away. Yaroslav Halak.
Oh, listen, they were the kings of the President's Trophy. I'll tell you that.
Jesus Christ,
they love that President's Trophy. I think they wanted it more than the Stanley Cup.
that was a straight on shot. That wasn't even a straight.
Listen, I was a Sharks fan. Sharks hosted that President's Trophy a few times.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah, you guys didn't get there, but. And then the other thing now is like soft versus skill. And so I know a lot of you guys at me as terms of like, oh, today's game is so skilled and these players are so this, so that. What's the point of resting during the regular season if we're going to get hurt or moderately hurt and miss playoff series? Giannis, 73 games played, which is very respectable by today's standards. 0 games played in the postseason with a calf injury.
Genuinely hurt.
For Giannis, yes. Yeah. Usually, but this is now
he's one to show up.
This is now 2 back-to-back years where you rested and then you get hurt right in the playoffs, and it's like, bro, we're out of the playoffs because you got hurt.
Correct.
Because that's how they lost to the Heat last year. But
he also fell and came down on his back.
That's fair.
I feel like he's not one of the ones to worry about.
That's fair. That's a little bit unfair. Kawhi Leonard, I love him. Oh, and here we go. Yeah, go ahead. Roll that footage.
Yeah, he's
that's how Kawhi's knee looks every time we get to the postseason.
But I think we're now learning, and just from a few things you've seen, he's got real permanent knee damage.
Yeah, no, but
we'll never know with him because he's a robot and he doesn't look any different.
Yeah. I guess my only thing is like, look. It's back-to-back years for him now. And I want to say 3 out of the 4 years. Because the 1 year, remember, he was coming off of ACL surgery and he just didn't play the whole year. So it's like,
And he ain't rushing back.
No, and he won't play through anything.
Correct.
To an extent. Obviously, we don't know how many injuries, like Dave was saying, how many injuries, what's the effect of injuries. But like when you come in, when you say knee swelling and then I'm shutting it down, and it's like swelling, Jordan was getting black stuff drained out of his knee in D.C. Like, yeah, I mean, so that it just, but then, the final one, Zion Williamson, 70 regular season games, which again, very respectable for him, gets hurt with a hamstring injury in the loss to the Lakers, swept in the first round by your OKC.
That's right.
And it's just, it's
they would have lost the series anyway, by the way.
It would
have been a different series.
It would have been 6, I would say, right? Probably.
I wouldn't have been shocked for it to be, at the very least, every game would have been competitive.
Yes. Now, late game execution.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been dog walking them like they were after the first game.
It was trash. That was not okay.
It was OKC.
Yeah. I hate you. All right, let's switch it up. One thing each ousted playoff team needs to do to take the next step. So we'll start in the West first. What is the one thing the Lakers need to do, Dave?
Well, I don't think they can do anything, but they will make a bad trade. You will see a Trae Young or a Zach LaVine there. I feel like it will mortgage them everything in their future. LeBron's not going anywhere. All of this dance is stupid.
It's pandering.
Why everybody keeps talking about this? Where's he going to go? You think he said nice things about Sam Presti, so he's going to go to KC? Come on now. He's not going anywhere. So it's going to be whatever he wants to happen. Mm-hmm. He's going to get the coach whatever they want. And delusional Laker fans, you're not getting Ty Lue. Why in the world would Steve Ballmer let Ty Lue go to the crosstown team?
And I think Ty Lue is just getting resigned.
Yeah. They ain't getting Ty Lue. So good luck. So now it's going to be JJ.
Good Lord, that's just anyway. For me, do what's best for the Lakers, for a change. You know what I mean? When you go back a few years,
don't do what's best for the Lakers.
Well, I mean,
do what's best for LeBron.
Do what's best for LeBron and continue down this path.
Draft Bronny first round.
Not first round. Oh my God!
If you could trade for a lottery pick,
Look, listen, if you do that, like your team's going to be in worse shape than before Kobe left. So
Make Savannah the GM.
all right, next up, what do the Kings need to do? What's the one thing the Kings need to do?
I think they're kind of stuck. I think you kind of have to try to keep on somewhat the same wave because, I mean, you have good players with Fox and Sabonis. But can you bring back Malik Monk, or is he going to take big money someplace else to go shoot?
So I think, obviously, they have to re-sign Malik Monk. I think that the way that team is constructed and then Mike Brown's coaching, they are a top 5 to top 6 team in the West. Now, obviously, the West is always really jam-packed. There's young teams coming too. Yes, and some old dogs fading out. So it's like they're like right in that middle of we're not old and we're not young. So
they're not bad enough to get better, and they're not good enough to threaten anybody. So they're kind of in no man's land, but they're in a good version of no man's land. You have a hot building.
Yeah,
the fans love you. Yeah, you have some good players to watch.
You make your money and you move it along.
Yeah, I think you stay a little bit above 500. You make the playoffs every year. Hope your owner sells eventually, and that's that.
I mean, well, look, I met a guy that covers the Kings over the weekend, and he was saying that in terms of Malik Monk, that the teams that were interested were the Magic, the Spurs, and the Pistons. And for me, he doesn't go to the Magic because the Magic still have young people that they got to re-sign. That one would
that's actually a player and a person I was going to bring up when we talk about the Magic later.
Okay. As far as the Spurs, I don't think that makes sense.
I don't know that I disagree with that.
Okay, all right, but the Pistons, like it's like no, like why would you go there?
Pistons, I don't see that.
Like that doesn't make sense. So
Orlando, I see that one quite a bit.
Orlando, especially how they've played in this year's playoffs,
because they need shooting.
Yeah, and that does help them. But I still think he likes it in Sac. So
him and De'Aaron Fox are close.
Yeah.
So I think they can, as long as they want to resign him, he can come back.
Yeah. So next up we got the Clippers. What's your one thing?
You got to figure it out without Paul George.
Paul
George is gone.
Player option, free agent.
Yep, he's out. He's out.
All right. Well, for me, I'm saying it sucks, but prepare for the winter. They've got to start drafting again. They have to start, really looking at what their team is. But at the same time, you got to fill that new arena. And so you got to. I think,
but they can't prepare for any of these future years because they're one of the teams that's traded all their picks.
Yeah,
it's all picks and pick swaps. They don't really control stuff for years.
Yeah. So you got to you're kind of tethered.
Thank
to the
you for
bicycle.
that, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. They're kind of they're kind of taped to the bicycle. You know what I mean? You got to run it back with, I'd say, at least James Harden and Kawhi, but you do still have $30 million now out there that you can go utilize. So and now also with it being a new stadium, new arena, I think that somebody's going to want to come.
I don't think so. I don't think they're a draw. They're a draw to the two guys that were drawn there in free agency, Kawhi and Paul George. Everybody else wants to be a Laker if they want to go out there.
But the Lakers can't do it.
But you're never going to be hot. You're never going to be hot if you're a Clipper.
Okay.
Doesn't matter who you are. Paul George is hot to the young basketball players, but he's not hot to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So you can't be, just like you can't be hot as a Net, you can't be hot as a Clipper.
Warriors, what's the one thing?
Oh, KD wants to come back, or without giving up Kuminga, huge ask, or it's time to start the farewell tours because I feel like they're going to bring Klay back, and no one loves Klay more than me. But, ooh, man, that was an old Yeller Christy Nome situation. That boy needed to be taken behind the woodshed and shot.
For me, I think they have to do right by the big three. But at the same time,
you have to. They all three of those guys are getting statues.
Yeah. Like you let them all retire as members of your organization. As Dave said, you hope that you can get KD and maybe get the band back together for another 1 or 2 year run. Because I think, listen, if you get KD back in there, especially moving the ball. He has a role. He kind of can, mend some fences maybe. I think that they could definitely be a top 4 team, and in the playoffs, they know how to win potentially. So I think that that's their path forward because they've already done their idiocy and traded away all the youth that they slaved for.
Right.
So I think that's all they really can do. As far as the Pelicans, for me, I'm saying they got to hire a medical team and daily nutritionist for Zion and a watcher.
That's it.
And if those things happen,
Zion's health.
they'll be
Zion's
decent.
weight.
They'll be decent.
No more beignets.
No. Lay off the beignets. As far as the Suns, what do you think?
I think the Suns are a hopeless franchise.
Okay.
They got to see what they can get from the upcoming KD trade demand.
Okay.
Which is coming. You know it's coming. Which will probably lead to the Devin Booker trade demand, which will decimate that franchise.
Yeah.
Brad Beal, I always say no one's untradeable. Brad Beal's untradeable.
Yeah, that's not a good look. I think it's really trade Devin Booker. Trade Devin Booker.
That's your hope, which means you're trading Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant will force his way out.
Yeah, I mean, look, but Book is the only one that really has true value still. Everyone else,
Like hardware.
Yeah. I mean, but KD, you're not going to get back truthfully what he's worth.
Well, you're not going to get back what you gave either.
That either.
That was, which by the way, they gave away way too much for a guy who really only opened it up to one team.
Yeah, that's true. That's
a new owner for you.
Moving over to the East, the Bucks. Pray Doc can recreate Ubuntu. I am because we are in Milwaukee. What about you? What do you think?
Hope Giannis comes back healthy and hope he still wants to be there. Doc Rivers ain't the answer. Doc Rivers is never the answer.
That's not incorrect.
Because realistically, when they talk about Doc and the Ubuntu Celtics,
yeah.
Oh, we never lost a series when all of our starters were available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But that team was carried by vets.
Yeah, that's true.
Like vets, like a KG type. They didn't want to deal with him.
That's right.
Granted, they also had guys he could bully. So it's a big difference between some players.
Yep. As far as the Sixers, I'm saying they gotta try to poach Paul George, especially with the $36 million from Tobias Harris going out the window. I think that's probably their best path forward. Paul George is a good number 3. He's good in that role. And as Tyrese Maxey keeps elevating, I think that's what they do.
They'd all fit together very well too.
Yeah. As far as the Heat, Caleb Martin is the only big free agent they have. Continue building through the draft. See if any big stars want to come join up and be a part of the culture.
You do what you do. That's a very likely KD destination.
Okay.
I could very much see him ending up there. It's
okay.
Do what they do, because as long as they limp into the playoffs, everybody worries about them. If they're healthy, like I said, the Celtics don't have that easy of a series. I can't believe that team won a game.
Yeah.
They had no business taking a game off that Celtics team. None. So just, you do what you do. You wait for somebody to be unhappy. They all want to come there.
Yeah. It's you at least always have that, and they're very cap healthy.
Pat Riley knows what he's doing. He knows how to slap those rings down on the table and make things happen.
And say, look at the sunshine.
Yeah.
The Bulls, Lonzo Ball opted back into his $21.4 million option.
Most shocking transaction of the season.
Of course he did. I think give that 3 one last ride, because you can't really get much for Zach LaVine.
I think they'll
much
have
for DeMar DeRozan as well.
LaVine's getting traded.
You think so?
I think LaVine opted for that surgery to not get traded this year. But I think they're trading Zach LaVine. But there's only so far you can go. The team they're kind of stuck. They got a nice prize in Kobe White.
Yes.
I was surprised by how well he turned out this season. He really, really improved. So they have a couple good young guys, but they're not as good as the Kings, but they're stuck in the same level of the Kings. As they're not bad enough to be bad.
Yeah.
They can't be Cooper Flag bad next year.
Yeah.
Which is, if you're going to be bad next year, you got to be Cooper Flag bad.
And they're not there.
No.
Lastly, for the Hawks, draft. That's all I got for you.
Well, they're going to trade Trey.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because that's where the value is. Because if they trade DeJounte Murray, you're going to stay on this. They're one of those teams where they had fool's gold. They went to a conference finals that they should not have gone to. They should thank Ben Simmons every day for that. And it made them think they were a good team. They're not a good team.
Yeah,
they're good enough to scrape into the playoffs, but they're not scaring anybody. Yeah. And Trae Young is a marketable player. I think he could probably fit in as a third or something guy. But the thing is, as long as he's the guy that's always has the ball in his hands, he will be the guy.
Yeah.
And you can't go anywhere with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right, let's go ahead and get into these finals, the final 4 matchups from the East and the West for the second round. We're only going to go over one thing, and then also who you have winning the series and in what game. So up first, we got the Knicks versus the Pacers, and I'm only simply going to say late game execution. The Knicks have had, we said this on last week's episode, just deplorable late game execution. Whether it's DiVincenzo not getting the ball enough late in games, Josh Hart, they never get their bigs, Robinson or Hartenstein involved in actions.
Well, they're all
games.
tired too.
You think that's it?
I think that's a big part.
Man, that's not possible because they just sit and watch. Save us, Jalen Brunson, all for 8-minute stretches. They can't be exhausted. We just watching.
Steve, I feel like the key to this series, if you're the only way the Pacers can make this a series, because they're not as good of a team, is they got to run, and they got to run, and they got to run some more. They can't stop anything.
Yeah,
but that Knicks rotation is not deep, and Tibbs does not play extra players. So keep running and keep running some more.
6.5 is what the rotation is.
Yeah. So
what do you have?
run.
What do you have it in?
I'm gonna say Knicks in 5 to close it out in MSG.
Okay, I got Knicks in 6. I got Knicks in 6. I feel like the Pacers might steal one in MSG just because of the late game execution. That first series had 2 of the just most improbable ends to games that we'll ever
Those
witness.
were wild.
Those, both of them, and both teams got one. So it was like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Both those games were amazing. So I think we might have something similar to that. Celtics versus the Cavs. My one thing is Kristaps. Kristaps being hurt is at least going to make the series interesting. But I still got the Celtics in 5.
Oh yeah, Celtics in 5. I'll never pick a sweep. This is the closest in this year's playoffs I would come to picking in this round.
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
It's closest I would come to picking a sweep because, you have a case where it's Donovan Mitchell. Say hello to Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
If Drew Holiday's sitting, Donovan Mitchell, say hello to Derek White.
Yeah.
Also say hello to Jaylen Brown. Also say hello to Jason Tatum. All of them are going to be spending time on you.
Yeah.
So
introduce yourself.
yeah. Get to know these guys well. Because I think their chemistry things can really easily go awry because they needed a superhuman game from Donovan Mitchell to be in this round.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have rather seen the Magic make it.
I would have liked to see it, 1, for their development, but 2, because I think there's a future there. I don't think Cleveland has a future.
Yeah.
But 2,
just
that would also be an easy series to pick. But yeah, if Porzingis was there, I would consider a sweep.
Actually, you know what? But if the Magic made it, I actually think it might go 6. If it was the Celtics versus the Magic, because they have more paths to victory.
Well, they're young and crazy enough
and stupid enough,
and they have a much better coach. I think Mosley is a much better coach than Bickerstaff. I'd have a hard time thinking they have a better shot against them, though, just because I love Franz Wagner. He is not showing up.
Really? You feel like he didn't?
From a shooting perspective, he can do so much, but if he can't shoot, what does it matter? Now, Paolo is out there. Paolo is a stud.
Paolo's getting better, too. That's good for him. Switching over to the West, we'll go with the Thunder. Your Thunder versus the Mavericks first. I'm saying that this is the collective versus the tandem. The Thunder obviously have a full-fledged collective with just so many. We always talk about paths to victory, especially in the playoffs. They have so many different ways outside of SGA. Shea is going to be Shea, but if he's not, he's still got like 5 other dudes with him.
But they don't have a Shea defender.
Okay.
In Dallas, and now they've played tough games with Dallas this season. To me, the whole key of this series is Lou Dort.
Mm-hmm.
Can he stay out of foul trouble? Because he is as ideally made as he can be, because nobody can stop Luka, but he's as ideally made to cover Luka and harass him and give him problems.
Yeah.
He's also not somebody, because he's become a good 3-point shooter, that you can just completely sag off of, which is what happens to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he will hit those open threes as well. So if he can hit a couple threes and play the top level defense without getting in foul trouble, that's the question for the whole series.
What do you have it in?
I think it's 7 either way. There's no way I can't pick OKC. I hate picking a 7-game series because it's crazy to get an expectation for something that great. But that's a 7-game series. I'm scared to death of Luka Doncic.
I love
scared of
you.
Kyrie now.
No. So I said it's a toss-up series in 7. I said before the playoffs started that the winner of the Cavs-Mavs series was going to make it to the conference finals. I said that from the beginning, just because I felt like OKC, as good as they've been, they're still a little too young. It's almost back to, the trio with Russ and James and Kevin when you guys were great, but it was like, I don't know if they're ready yet.
But way better coached.
Yep.
I'm not going to say they have players as great as those 3 players were.
No, they don't.
But way better coach.
But in
coaching by miles.
Coaching, and then also collective. They have more options.
So much, they're the one team that when you bring up depth, they have real depth.
Yeah.
Not only real depth, but real chemistry.
Yeah.
And this is not a team that size will kill them. All the size for Dallas are rim runners.
Yeah.
You don't have any back you down players. You have no players with post moves on that whole team, except for Luka.
And he has enough for everyone. Finally, switching gears to the defending champions who already have played their first game in their series. That series now 1-0 Timberwolves. My one thing is, what's the path to 110 for the Timberwolves? And I'll go quickly through it. In game 1, they got to 106, so that already shows you it's going to be a struggle for them to get to 110. Ant dropped 43 in game 1 and only got a combined 26 between Cat and Rudy Gobert. So for me, this is what I'm saying. Cat gives you 28 a game. Ant gives you 35. He goes off every game. Gobert gets 12. Conley gets 10. Naz Reid gets 15. That's 95 points.
You're giving Naz Reid 15 every game.
See, exactly. See what I'm saying?
That's an expectation.
From there, you're already 15. You're already 15 points. 15 points in the hole that you still have to find every game, and that's with Anthony Edwards going off every game. And I'm giving you Karl Anthony Towns getting you 28. But here, let's switch it over to the Nuggets. The Nuggets, Jokic 25, Murray 25, Gordon 12.
Which is low for 2 of them in playoffs.
I'm already going to go there. Gordon 12, KCP 15, Porter 20, Bron 8, Reggie Jackson 8. That's 108, and that's with none of their stars getting hot. That's not with Michael Porter Jr. getting hot. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm in complete agreement with what you're saying. My feeling on this series, though, is what if Ant is the best player in the series? Because if he remains, because he was the best player in game 1. I think as well as Jokic played, I think that's tough to debate.
Yeah.
If he can be the best player for the vast majority of this series, then you have real problems. Because what other series is Nikola Jokic not the best player on the court?
The only thing that I'll say for this one is Jokic isn't going to be tired this series. Last series he was tired because he physically had to defend Anthony Davis. This one, Rudy Gobert ain't what? He's self-checked.
He works. he legitimately has as great of a defender as Rudy Gobert is, and he's going to end up going into the Hall of Fame because of his defense. He just is. I mean, there's worse Hall of Famers. There's worse Hall of Famers. He's a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, and will probably win it again this year. But so he's getting in anyway. Jokic does not have a hard time against him. So I really believe that he will. I believe they're the champs. They're the champs until they get beaten in a 7-game series.
Yep.
I can't believe for the other Western series, I got to say 7, only because Minnesota already took one off of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Nuggets in 6. I think it's gonna bear out. Really, really keep an eye on that 110.
Yeah, 7 certainly sounds crazy to me. I hate that I picked 2 7-game series.
Look, the first one I see cinema in that first series.
Yeah,
that series is going to be crazy.
I don't know that you can count on Cat to not do stupid things for multiple games of a series.
Yeah, and for me too, Cat is going to the thing, and see that's the thing too with Aaron Gordon guarding him. If Karl-Anthony Towns isn't getting Aaron Gordon in foul trouble because he's pulling threes all game, God bless. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like if he's not if he's not attacking the basket, if he's not putting him in foul positions, bro, they're gonna beat them. They're gonna beat him.
It'll take a superhuman effort for Anthony Edwards. I'm just starting to actually wonder if
he's superhuman.
If he's that kind of guy. He might be.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the American Fan 365 podcast. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Share it with your people. It really does help out the channel. For Josh Williams,
Dave Nobles,
Death Star Dave,
Hot Take Kid.
We'll see you guys next time.